All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected and all the viewers are smarter than the average bear. What is going on, y'all? It's Friday, and sorry for the long intro. Just it's kind of warm, moving a little slow. That's about it. Hey. Gang's all here. Bella Jean, Jazz Farm, Going South, Gregory, Extra Bulla, Shawnee, John, all the people, Rockfin people. What's up? What's up, Rockfin people? What's up, William? How you doing? If you're watching on Twitter, you know what to do. Are there Twitter people? That's the question. Am I live on Twitter? What's happening? Yep. I guess I am. All right. Cool. All systems go. But it is warm, so we're going to have to see how my computer holds up. All right. So we're just, we're talking about the state of the collapsing biosphere as it stands today. Yeah. It is Friday. It's going to be a long, hot weekend. I think it's going to get, excuse me, even hotter, I believe, this weekend. The forecast is for very toasty weather. 95 tomorrow. 94 Sunday, 92 on Monday. Yeah. All right. Well, everybody's here, and it's not getting any. It's not cooling down at the moment. It's probably just going to get warmer. It is a full strawberry moon tonight. All right, nice. Noise. Yeah, I believe we're all under the same heat dome thing that's going on. It's going to stay. I mean, it's pretty much going to just stay very warm for the next week or two. Looks like. All right. Well, let's get into it. We're going to look at some things that are happening today. Hold on. Where am I? This is a weird one from Nebraska. More weird stuff. Alita Lau audio good. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Hail and floodwaters came together in an ominous movement that almost looked as though it was alive. This is from Scotts Bluff, Nebraska. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. That is a weird one. It's creepy, is what it is. This is from Switzerland. Swiss are getting it today, getting knocked around today. France and Switzerland today getting lots of flooding. This is Matterhorn-Gotthard-Bahn, last train out of Zermatt this morning before the town was cut off from the world due to flooding and landslides. No rail or road transport is possible. The river Vispa has broken its banks. Center of town is flooded. Can y'all see that? Pretty wild looking. Let's see. I think there's more around this. This is from France. Woo. It's toasty in here, guys. So if things are running slow, I apologize. The ice is up, and we're just going to roll with it. Floods due to heavy rains in Crayon, in the Mayenne, in France. And more. One more from France. I know I spend, a decent amount of time every day showing these videos, but this should translate into an understanding that things are amiss on the planet. In France, last night's heavy rain and snowmelt runoff caused catastrophic flooding in parts of the Alps. Aerial footage from La Bérarde in the Massif des Écrins shows the extent of the damage. Gene says, my neighbor came by when the live stream started. He says our creek is flooded from all the rain. 5 weeks of serious rain. Jeez. Be careful out there, Gene. It does look like mud. Yeah, well, it's runoff, snow melt, and looks like, quite a good bit of mudslide that's going on, for sure. What's up, Rockfinners? How you doing? A-Ram's here. Osama, William. People chilling on the Rockfin. Couple people chilling on Twitter. Right on. That sucks. Dancing plans canceled. No bueno. Here, this is from China, Shay County, Anhui Province. China's been getting it pretty bad. For the last few weeks. CB checking in from West Virginia, 94 now, 100 for the rest of the weekend. Yow. Youch. Um, in Delhi, they had the hottest night, or its hottest night in recorded history. It's been very warm in Delhi. So the low, higher highs and higher lows. What happened to this? Oh, I think this, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I think that post isn't there. I don't know what happened to it. Not really sure. Anyways. 11 UV index? God dang. Yeah, definitely stay out of that 11 UV index. Like, stay all the way out. That's my plan. My plan today is to stay out of the sun. I'm not going to go out until later. Because F that. What is our index? 5, not too bad. It was, we did get up to almost, well, we got up to 11 today at like noon. 5 now, but I'm not planning on going out until it's to 0. That's my plan. I imagine it's I don't know. Would the UV on Mars be really high? They don't have an atmosphere, right? Not like we do. All right. Well, I'm glad we're covering this stuff because I don't see anybody else covering it. I watch a lot of independent news and I don't see anybody talking about how weird things are. Yeah, that's the way to do it, Jazz Farm. Yep. Start at 6. Get it done by 11, yeah. Lots of skin cancer in Colorado? Yikes, yeah. I imagine. Let's look at this from Go Green. Goodbye, Florida and coastal regions around the world. Greenland's glaciers are melting 100 times faster than estimated. Greenland, 100 times faster than estimated. 100 times is a lot of times. Greenland ice holds enough water to raise sea levels by 20 feet. Let's look at this. This is from 2022. Just letting you know the date on this. Scientists are getting a better handle on how fast Greenland's ice is flowing out to sea. Old models that used Antarctica as a baseline were way off the mark. Greenland's glaciers are melting 100. Hey, anyways, I'll ask a question later. Greenland's glaciers are melting 100 times faster than previously calculated, according to a new model that takes into account the unique interaction between ice and water at the island's fjords. The new mathematical representation of glacial melt factors in the latest observations of how ice gets eaten away from the stark vertical faces at the ends of glaciers in Greenland. Previously, man, that was not nice. Previously, scientists used models developed in Antarctica where glacial tongues float on top of seawater, a very different arrangement. For years, people took the melt rate models People took the melt rate model for Antarctica floating glaciers and applied it to Greenland's vertical glacier fronts. Lead author Christian Schultz, a research associate in the Odin Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences at University of Texas at Austin, said in a statement, but there is more and more evidence that the traditional approach produces too low melt rates. So sorry about that. There's more and more evidence that the traditional approach produces too low melt rates at Greenland's vertical glacier fronts. Researchers already knew their Antarctica-based understanding of Arctic glaciers was not a perfect match. But it's hard to get close to the edges of Greenland's glaciers because they're situated at the end of fjords, long, narrow inlets of seawater, flanked by high cliffs where warm water undercuts the ice. This leads to dramatic calving events where chunks of ice the size of buildings crumble into the water with little warning, creating mini tsunamis. According to the researchers led by physical oceanographer Rebecca Jackson. Oh my God, please stop. Rebecca Jackson of Rutgers University have been using robotic boats to get close to these dangerous ice cliffs and take measurements. They've done this at Alaska's LeConte Glacier as well as Greenland's Kangerlussuaq, Sirmia. An upcoming mission led by scientists at the University of Texas at Austin will send robotic subs to the faces of 3 West Greenland glaciers. Jackson's measurements suggest that the Antarctica-based models massively underestimate Arctic glacial melt. LeConte, for example, is disappearing 100 times faster than models predicted. Faster than expected. Faster than predicted. Gene says Mars, the average UV on Mars is 200 to 400. Yeah. Fry your eyeballs right out of the socket. So okay. The mixture of cold, fresh water from the glaciers and warmer seawater drives ocean circulation near the glaciers and farther out in the ocean, meaning the melt has far-reaching implications. The Greenland ice sheet is also important for sea level rise. Greenland ice holds enough water to raise sea levels by 20 feet or 6 meters. The new model uses the latest data from the near glacial missions along with a more realistic understanding of how the steep cliff-like faces of glaciers impact ice loss. The results are consistent with Jackson's findings, showing 100 times more melt than the old models predicted. Oops, we're off by just a bit. Ocean climate model results are highly relevant for humankind to predict trends associated with climate change. So you really want to get them right, Schultz said. This is a very important step for making climate models better. All right. Sounds like they're on it. Good to know. Kangerlussuaq, Sirmia is close to Greenland main airport. Okay. Drawn by Dragon says Venus is 464 Celsius on a good day. Yay, runaway greenhouse effect. You don't want to go out in that. That could be really uncomfortable. Right. Let's see. I want to read this article. I don't know how long it's going to be. This is I apologize in advance because this could be a little bit. Let's see how far this goes. It's kind of long. I don't know if we're going to make it all the way through. This is going to be a little bit morbid. So hold on to your socks. How far will you go to survive? Cannibalism, infanticide, pet slaughter. It's from Sarah Connor, June 19th, 2024. Before I begin, let me apologize. This article is morbid, but it covers something that will probably happen in the future. It's best to consider the subject now while still of sound mind. The climate crisis is ultimately a food crisis. Unpredictable and changing weather patterns, compounded by resource shortages, threaten our ability to grow enough food to feed 8+ billion people. The food crisis has already started. A visit to the grocery store reveals the increasing threat of food security. Or to food security. On a hotter planet, droughts worsen, floods persist, increasing the probability of a breadbasket failure. What happens to humans when food availability declines by 20, 50, or 80%? The answer varies, but inevitably it comes down to desperation, cognitive breakdown, and violence. Today, these are words on your computer, ambiguous, nebulous, but what they really mean is unimaginable. And there's a side rant right here. No, we can't simply move to more favorable locations. The food system depends on complex infrastructure that converts fossil fuels into the calories on your plate. This system evolved over generations and will require a similar amount of time to fundamentally shift. Moreover, farming today already exists on the most arable land, right? One of the problems with agriculture as we know it is that the topsoil is, good, healthy topsoil is going away. What's left is subpar. Feeding today's population depends on the unlikely combination of predictable weather, prime land, and petrochemicals. Our population would have never reached today's level without this lucky combination. Some also argue that food supply isn't at risk because food production has grown remarkably over the past century, primarily because we've become better at converting fossil fuel into calories. This argument suffers from normalcy bias. In reality, the world only surpassed 1.5 degrees above benchmark in 2023. We are just beginning to see the effects of our changing climate. Disasters are anticipated in the future, not the past. Let's keep going. No sooner is the rage of hunger appeased than it becomes difficult to comprehend the meaning of starvation. It is only when you suffer that you really understand. That's a quote from Jules Verne. Excuse me. What happens when we starve? We all know what pain feels like. We can empathize with someone who's been hurt physically or psychologically. In contrast, few of us have ever missed more than a couple meals at most. We don't know what starvation feels like, so it's impossible to place ourselves in that situation. Moreover, most of us are culturally distanced from living or even institutional memory of historic famines. Ding, ding, ding. The concept is foreign, yet since starvation is likely a big part of our future, we must give it a voice today. Starvation is an excruciating experience that affects both the body and mind. Initially, it triggers intense hunger pangs, creating a gnawing and painful sensation in the stomach as the body demands food. This progresses to extreme weakness and fatigue, making even simple tasks exhausting. Rapid and severe weight loss occurs as the body breaks down muscle and fat for energy, leading to a gaunt, emaciated appearance. I'm sorry that I'm laughing, but yes, I think that's what hunger looks like. Um, Muscle mass decreases significantly over time, causing weakness and difficulty in movement. Prolonged starvation can also destroy the heart, liver, and kidneys, eventually leading to organ failure. The body lowers its metabolic rate to conserve energy, resulting in a constant feeling of cold and decreased physical activity. Hair becomes thin and brittle. Skin becomes dry, flaky, and susceptible to infections. A weakened immune system increases the risk of infections and diseases as the body lacks the necessary nutrients to maintain a strong defense. Starvation reduces the brain's glucose supply, leading to difficulties with concentration, memory, and decision making. When the body lacks sufficient nutrients, it prioritizes survival functions, which adversely affects brain function and mental health. Thinking becomes slow and foggy. Severe mood swings, irritability, and anxiety are common. Individuals may become easily frustrated or depressed. Starvation also causes obsessive thoughts about food, with the mind becoming preoccupied with fantasies and dreams about eating, often leading to obsessive behaviors and planning around food. Decision making becomes impaired under starvation. Hungry individuals take uncalculated, impulsive risks, prioritizing short-term gains over long-term benefits. The constant hunger and physical decline lead to feelings of hopelessness and despair. Individuals withdraw from social interactions, lacking energy and becoming consumed by the struggle for food. Starving individuals may engage in risky or desperate actions to survive, such as stealing food or consuming unsafe substances. People become antisocial as the fight for survival becomes paramount. They hoard food, isolate from others, and become aggressive. Long-term starvation can cause permanent cognitive damage, affecting the ability to think clearly, make decisions, and remember important information. In children, it can lead to stunted growth and development, both physically and mentally. Survivors often suffer from chronic health problems, including chronic fatigue, digestive issues, and weakened bones and muscle. The psychological trauma of starvation can also leave lasting scars such as post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. We were living like animals, fighting for a piece of bread. There was nothing human left in us. That is a survivor of the siege of Leningrad. Famine is a recurring theme for humanity. The fact that you and I don't know what it means to starve is through sheer luck. We were born at the right time, in the right place, to reap the benefits of the Haber-Bosch process before global population grew to soak up excess food production capacity. In other words, we grew up in a food plenty world. I was going to say we grew up in food Disneyland, which is kind of is. We live in food Disneyland right now, but, you know, have fun with that while it lasts. Unfortunately, this is unusual throughout human history. Famine always lurked in the shadows, and most were familiar enough through direct experience or cultural narratives. If your neighbors grew food every summer, the stories of great famines below might explain why. Well, the closest we've been, or the most recent, I think, that I can think of is the Depression, right? The Great Depression was the last time that people were collectively, hungry, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure in other, I'm talking about the United States. I'm sure in other countries have experienced famine since then. Not too many though. I mean, mostly Africa, right? I would say, mainly Africa, maybe South America, maybe some places in the Far East, but mostly Africa. Oh, Middle East, sure. Yemen is in the middle of a famine. So some people still are deeply connected to what it means to starve, right? But we are not. In the U.S., the last time people were hungry and they remember what it feels like to be hungry, and so they adjusted their lives accordingly, was probably the Great Depression. Let's keep going. By the way, before I read some more of this, I'm going to read as much as I can of this before the show ends. But if you really enjoy the show, you enjoy the show being here Monday through Friday, coming to you for free 99, and you like what you hear, and you think to yourself, hey, how can I make a donation today? How can I support this grand channel, the Black Bear News, in a financial way? And to that, I would say, good on you, brother or sister. And the way to do that is look in the description box. There's lots of links. There's like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, coffees, etc. You can donate in any of those ways. And to the people that already donate, I really, really appreciate you. Okay. Shawnee says Yemen, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Palestine, Syria. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, plenty of other places know what starvation feels like. We have been lucky enough to not know for when did the Depression end? Well, when World War II started, I guess, or when we started jumping in, end of the 30s. So it's been close to 100 years since we've experienced what famine is. But I'm sure there's pockets, right? There's people that live in particular areas, the South, inner cities, people that live in very impoverished areas probably have come in contact with famine. All right. Famine is a reoccurring theme for humanity. The fact that you and I don't know what it means to starve is through sheer luck, and I read this. The Great Famine. So they're going to go through. She's going to go through history. The Great Famine was this was 1315 to 1317. So, just a little while ago. The Great Famine was primarily caused by a series of adverse weather conditions, including unusually heavy rains and cool temperatures. Beginning in the spring of 1315, which persisted through 1316 and led to successive crop failures. These conditions were compounded by a severe outbreak of livestock disease, drastically reducing cattle populations. Estimates suggest that the Great Famine resulted in the deaths of 10% to 25% of the population in affected areas, translating to approximately 7 to 17.5 million people out of the 70 million pre-famine population. That's pretty wild. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of people, even for the amount of people we have now. The famine lasted from 1315 to 1317. The same regions, with some regions not fully recovering until 1322, marking a period of severe food shortages, widespread hunger, disease, and mortality. Efforts to mitigate the famine included setting up price controls and attempting to import food from southern Europe, but these measures were largely ineffective due to the scale of the crisis and inability of medieval governments to manage such a widespread disaster. The famine led to a significant increase in crime as people resorted to theft and violence to obtain food, undermining the authority of the church and the state and resulting in heightened instances of cannibalism and infanticide, reflecting the extreme desperation of the population. Next up, we have the Irish potato famine. From 1845 to 1852. The Irish potato famine, also known as the Great Hunger, was caused by a potato blight that destroyed the primary food source for the Irish population. Approximately 1 million people died, and another million emigrated from Ireland, significantly reducing the population. The famine lasted from 1845 to 1852 and was characterized by widespread starvation, disease, and emigration. The British government's inadequate response and policies that exacerbated the crisis were widely criticized. Relief efforts included soup kitchens and workhouses, but these were insufficient to meet the needs of the starving population. The famine had a profound effect on Irish society, leading to significant population decline, emigration, and lasting economic and social changes. Here's a quote. Children were lying About, with distended bellies, tiny shrunken limbs, and big death-haunted eyes, people were eating human flesh. A woman was arrested for cutting off and eating her own child. Oh my God. This is Miran Dolo, survivor and author of Execution by Hunger, The Hidden Holocaust. The Soviet famine, 1932 to 1933. The Soviet famine, particularly in Ukraine, Holodomor, was caused by forced collectivization policies under Stalin, grain requisitioning, and political repression. Natural factors such as droughts also played a role, but were secondary to the man-made causes. The death toll is estimated to be between 3.3 million and 7.5 million people, with the majority of deaths occurring in Ukraine. The famine lasted from 1932 to 1933 and was particularly severe due to the deliberate policies of the Soviet government, which exacerbated the food shortages. The Soviet government denied the existence of the famine and continued to export grain, refusing international aid and implementing internal measures that were often counterproductive. The famine caused immense suffering and led to widespread instances of cannibalism. Historical accounts describe instances where parents killed and ate their children, and other acts of cannibalism driven by the intense hunger and desperation of the people. The famine left a lasting scar on Ukrainian society and contributed to the animosity between Ukraine and Russia. That's harsh. It's harsh, people. Well, you know, there's lots of stories. Donner Party is the one I can think of. When people get hungry, they start eating everything in sight. The Siege of Leningrad, 1941 to 1944. The Siege of Leningrad during World War II from September 8, 1941 to January 27, 1944 was one of the longest and most devastating sieges in history. The German forces blocked all supplies to the city, causing extreme food shortages and widespread starvation. Approximately 1 million people died, mainly from starvation. The people of Leningrad endured harsh winters with limited heating and severe malnutrition. In their desperation, they ate anything they could find, including pets, wallpaper paste, and leather, with some even resorting to cannibalism. While most cannibalism involved the consumption of those who had already died, there were instances where people were killed for their flesh, driven by the desperate need to survive. Despite the immense suffering, the residents showed incredible resilience, continuing to work in factories and support the war effort. The siege finally ended when the Soviet forces broke the blockade, but the city was left in ruins, scarred by prolonged deprivation and the immense loss of life. The Bengal famine. The Bengal famine occurred, this is 1943, occurred in British-ruled India and led to the deaths of an estimated 2 to 3 million people. The famine was caused by a combination of crop failures, wartime policies, and inadequate response by the British colonial government. There they go again, not responding correctly. The famine lasted from 1943 to 44, was exacerbated by the British government's prioritization of military needs over civilian relief. Sounds familiar? Relief efforts were slow and insufficient, and many people resorted to eating leaves, grass, and other inedible substances to survive. The famine had a significant impact on Bengal, leading to widespread suffering and mortality and contributing to the growing demand for Indian independence. Blowback is a bee, isn't it? The Chinese Great Famine of 1959 to 1961. The Great Chinese Famine was primarily caused by the policies of the Great Leap Forward, which aimed to rapidly industrialize China, leading to inefficient agricultural practices, crop failures, and a breakdown of food distribution systems. Natural disasters also contributed to the famine. Estimates of the death toll range from 15 million to 45 million people. Good God. 15 million to 45 million people, making it one of the deadliest famines in history. The famine lasted from 1959 to 1961 and was severe due to the combination of policy failures and natural disasters, leading to widespread starvation and mortality. The Chinese government initially denied the severity of the famine and continued with the policies that had caused it, eventually making policy changes and seeking international aid. But these efforts came too late for millions. The famine led to widespread suffering and reports of cannibalism, profoundly impacting Chinese society and leading to significant social and political changes in subsequent years. The Ethiopian famine, 1983 to 1985. The Ethiopian famine was exacerbated by drought, conflict, and government policies, leading to the deaths of approximately 400,000 to 1 million people. The famine lasted from 83 to 85 and attracted international attention and aid. Relief efforts included food and international fundraising campaigns, but the response was often hampered by logistical challenges and the Ethiopian government's handling of aid distribution. The famine displaced much of the population and highlighted the need for better global disaster response and food security measures. Golly gee, I wish somebody would help the people of Gaza, who are being starved to death in the moment. Here's a quote. We started eating things we shouldn't eat. We were eating grass, tree bark, and even dirt. I heard about people eating human flesh, although I never witnessed it myself. That's Kang Chol-hwan, author of The Aquariums of Pyongyang, 10 Years in the North Korean Gulag. The North Korean famine. Not long ago, 1994 to 1998. The North Korean famine, also known as the Arduous March, was caused by a combination of economic mismanagement, loss of Soviet support, and natural disasters such as floods and droughts. The death toll is estimated to be between 600,000 and 2 million people. The famine lasted from 94 to 98 and was severe due to the complete collapse of the North Korean economy and food distribution systems. The North Korean government initially denied the famine and refused international aid, eventually accepting aid from international organizations and countries, but often diverting it. The response was marked by secrecy and inadequate relief efforts. The famine caused widespread suffering and reports of cannibalism, displacing the population and leaving a lasting impact on North Korean society, contributing to ongoing food insecurity and economic challenges. Would you eat your cat? Good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Forgot about that one. The Biafra war famine. Yeah. Nigeria. Yeah. There are several. There are actually way more than that in Africa, right? That one could probably think of in the last, 30, 40 years. I don't think the Ethiopian one was the only one. And there are people suffering famine right now in Africa. So there's that. The question is, would you eat your cat? I asked this uncomfortable question from the comfort of my couch with a well-stocked fridge. I ate well yesterday and I'll eat well today. However, there is a time and a place, a frame of mind in which this becomes a relevant question. It's easy to align to morals when fat and happy. However, to judge those who, under extreme duress, strayed from those morals is to lack understanding of what starvation means. It's a fight for survival, but also a rewiring of the brain. The mind knows how to shut down moral judgments. Its survival is at stake. It is impossible to empathize with someone who hasn't eaten in a week, but this is something we must consider. A quote from an anonymous resident of Leningrad: "I have no strength left, none at all. People are dying like flies. I have nothing to eat. Last night we ate our cat. We loved him so much, but what could we do?" When faced with imminent death from starvation, the survival instinct can override deeply ingrained social and moral norms. Well, yeah, the brain prioritizes immediate survival over long-term consequences or ethical considerations. Prolonged hunger and malnutrition causes significant psychological stress, altered states, and trauma. People may experience confusion, delirium, and impaired reasoning, leading to actions that would otherwise be unthinkable. To cope with the horror of their actions, individuals might mentally dissociate, separating their actions from their sense of self. The psychological defense mechanism can make it easier to commit acts that are otherwise morally reprehensible. The sad truth is this: yes, you will eat your cat. The horrifying question is this: what other loved ones would you eat? Oh my God. Predator becomes prey. As apex predators, we individually assume we will be the ones forced to make such grueling decisions. However, it's just as likely that during a famine, we, or our loved ones, would be seen as a source of sustenance. Worse, people you once knew and trusted, neighbors, family, friends, will turn on you. In a weakened state, you will be seen as prey. Oh man, I forgot to cover, there's a story I needed to cover today, and I forgot all about it. Hold on, I'll get to it. It was a dreadful thought to use the flesh of our fellow sufferers as a means of sustaining life. When we reflected that we must die if we did not have recourse to this means, it reconciled us to the idea. Patrick Breen, Donner Party member. Are you prepared to defend yourself and your family from human predators? Can you defend against armed, starving bandits disassociated from reality? At first, they will search house to house for stored food. Once that's gone, what they search for next, you and I both know, but will never admit. Dong, dong, dong. Please repeat the name of this article. It's called "How Far Will You Go to Survive?" from Sarah Connor. I mean, yeah, it definitely. And also, this underlines what I always say about. It always underlines what I say about, human rights or civil rights or any kind of rights that people think that they have. Those only exist in civilized society where they can be, enforced either by law or by societal pressure, right? But when things fall apart, then those things are gone, right? Civil rights, human rights, all of that is gone. I mean, they're being chipped away by our own government at the moment. And we're just sitting around going like, that sucks. I wonder what we should do. I don't know. Anyways. Twitter watchers, how you doing? You guys over here? You guys all right? Everybody okay? Okay. Lastly, I wanted to talk about this. I think, this is actually something somewhat positive to end on, even though I'm sure there'll be the people that say, "What are you talking about?" I'm a backpacker and a hiker, and I'm a good person. I treat the land well. Well, I'm sure you do. I know you do. I'm positive that you do. It's just that if you go a hiking and a camping and a backpacking somewhere, it means everybody else is going to go too, and all those people are, as is the breakdown in every part of human society, right? There's like, the conscientious people make up like 10 or 20% of the people, and the dumb, stupid retards make up the other 80%. I know. Sorry. Excuse my language. Or the dumb, stupid bing bongs, whatever you want, whatever you want to put it. They make up like 80% of the people. So, right? Like, you think you're good, you're a conscientious person. That's great. That's fine. But you're going to bring, if you're going somewhere, all the dummies are going too. So, and there's more dummies than there are conscientious people. That's just how it breaks down. That more dummies than you. So, I know I'm probably I'm ruffling the feathers right now, but it's true. It's just true. It's just true. Until there's an evolution and not a revolution, that's generally how human, beings break down. That's just the breakdown of like awareness to non-awareness, high vibrational to low vibrational, right? There's always like way more low vibrational dumb shits than there are high vibrational, conscientious, aware, kind, well-meaning people. It's always, there's way more dummies. Anyways, whatever. So this is what happened in this, the indigenous population in this area in Arizona said no more tourists. And I was like, yes. Yes. This is a good story.
You are not allowed to visit this waterfall in Arizona, and here's why. For those of you who don't know, this waterfall is called Grand Falls, and is often referred to as Chocolate Falls, like that of the chocolate waterfall in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It is the 5th largest waterfall in Arizona, standing at 185 feet tall, making it taller than Niagara Falls, which only stands at 183 feet. The Navajo Nation voted to close it off to tourists in March of 2023 because tourists were being disrespectful. Tourists were leaving trash and alcohol containers around, and not to mention riding their ATVs into residential areas and on non-designated roads, disrupting the environment and its inhabitants. An article on AZ Central even stated that some tourists would chase livestock around on their ATVs and even go skinny dipping in the water. Ugh. This is considered a sacred site, and unfortunately this is a stunning example of what happens when there is too many disrespectful tourists. And as far as I could find, there are no future plans to open it to the public. And that's why.
There you go. And I'm here for it. I think that's great. Sometimes you got to cut people off from freedoms, Oh, I can go anywhere I want to go. Well, again, if you go, everybody else goes too. And that's not necessarily a good thing. So what are you going to do? If an area is going to be overrun by a bunch of, wanton hairless apes, then what are you going to do? You got to close it off. Anyways, it reminds me of when we went on a really great camping trip in Arizona last year, and beautiful, beautiful spot. But let me tell you how much garbage and trash and cigarette butts were left around this beautiful, beautiful little spring, little lake where everybody, people could go. And so it was amazing. It was amazing. And, there were just a bunch of people there like ruining it. And like, there was just garbage, people leaving garbage. We would get up and like clean up the garbage, and it was like, okay, what do you do about this? What do you do about that? Anyways, I've said it before. I think a really easy solution would be to not let anybody into these areas unless they took like a 2-week course in environmentalism, right? Or something, right? Like, you make it kind of a little bit difficult. Don't make it about money. Because, the rich people will just pay the money. Oh, it costs $300 again. All the rich people, they're just as low vibrational and, disrespectful as anybody else. No, force people to take like a 2-week environmental protection course, right? Something, requires like, 30 hours, something like that. And watch how many people the people that finish that course would be the people that would probably really want to go there, right? And those are the only people that get a license to get a permit to go in, right? That's my big idea, and I think it's a good one. Just make it a little bit harder. Hell, I think that way about driver's licenses. Like, getting a driver's license is too easy. They really should make it way more difficult to get a driver's license, and there'd be, way less stupid people on the road. Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't be able to drive. Oh, darn. Nice. Creative experiments. I'm going on a cruise for 4th of July, but I'm going to see the Alaska Glacier before it disappears. Well, yeah. George Robson says, Yahoos and ne'er-do-wells like me have ruined the planet. I mean, but, if closing off, nature or wildlife to everyone, and yes, that would affect me too, if it's in the benefit of the area, the nature and the wildlife itself, the environment, like, I'm all for it. Yeah, it sucks. A couple of dummies ruin it for everybody. Kamashwari Kate says, believe it or not, today in British Columbia Day in British Columbia, we are having an Indigenous Peoples Day. Maybe we should have Indigenous Peoples Day every day. Yeah. All right, just checking in, seeing if there's anybody to thank, and there is. Rich Diana, thank you for the tip on Rockfin. Rich Diana says, lead us on, Kevin. Just don't tell us where we're headed. Okay, will do. Thanks for the tip, Rich, and I think that's about it. I'm not totally sure, guys, but I may do a book reading tomorrow at 4. It would be at this time, 4 p.m. I'm 50-50 on doing it. I'm 50-50 on doing it. But there's a chance. So if you guys want to check in at 4 tomorrow, I'll try and, if I'm going to do it, I'll try and post it as early as possible. So come on back tomorrow for a book reading, Ministry for the Future. And thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. And definitely thank you for the conversation. And appreciate y'all hanging out with me here every single day. Y'all is beautiful. Oh, I forgot to play the bear at the beginning, but I'll play him at the end.
Bye.